There is a quiet reason you were guided to this moment, and it begins with something that seems ordinary at first glance. A name. Just a name. A collection of letters people use every day without much thought. Yet today, I want you to consider something deeper. What if your name carries more than identification? What if it carries a story, a reputation, a reflection of every step you have taken to become who you are? And what if, somewhere beyond your awareness, that name is moving through places you never expected? Do not rush ahead. Stay here for a moment. Something important is waiting for you. Imagine receiving a message that makes you pause. Not because it is loud. Not because it is dramatic. But because it feels strangely familiar, as though a hidden door has quietly opened in a hallway you walk every day. At first, you may think nothing of it. Most people would. Yet there are moments when life gently asks us to pay attention, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. And this is one of those moments. There is a lesson unfolding here that reaches far beyond paperwork, beyond records, beyond anything printed on a page. It is about identity. It is about value. It is about understanding that your name represents something precious. The remarkable thing is that many people spend years protecting possessions while forgetting to protect the story attached to their own name. But you are not hearing these words by accident. You are hearing them because awareness is beginning to awaken. And awareness changes everything. Now listen carefully. Somewhere, someone may speak your name without truly knowing your journey. They may see letters. They may see information. They may see a label. But they cannot see the countless moments that shaped you. They cannot see the lessons you learned in silence. They cannot see the strength you built when nobody was watching. That is why your name is worth more than it appears. It carries experiences no document can fully capture. It carries memories no system can record. It carries a future still being written. And when you begin to understand that, something shifts inside you. Suddenly, you stop seeing your identity as ordinary. Suddenly, you realize that who you are deserves attention, care, and respect. Don't skip this part. Many people overlook the most important realization hidden within this story. The real question is not what another person may do with a name. The real question is whether you recognize the value of your own. Because the moment you truly value something, you naturally become more aware of it. You notice details you once ignored. You recognize signs you once dismissed. You begin to move through life with a different kind of clarity. And clarity is a powerful gift. There is another layer to this that few people consider. Every name carries an invisible reputation. Not the reputation others assign to you, but the reputation you build through consistency, kindness, resilience, and growth. Day after day. Choice after choice. That reputation becomes a quiet companion traveling beside you wherever you go. It opens doors. It creates trust. It reflects character. And while someone else may borrow letters, they can never borrow the person behind them. They can never borrow your experiences. They can never borrow your heart. They can never borrow your purpose. That is why this story is not becoming smaller as it unfolds. It is becoming larger. Much larger. Because what appears to be about a name is slowly revealing itself to be about self-worth. A gentle realization is approaching, and when it arrives, many listeners will understand something they have overlooked for years. Stay till the end of this journey, because the next piece changes the way this entire story is understood. There is a detail still hidden in the shadows of this moment, a detail that transforms concern into wisdom and curiosity into clarity. And when that detail finally comes into view, you may discover that the most valuable thing being protected was never the name itself, but the person who carries it. A strange thing happens when a person begins to truly understand their own value. The world does not suddenly change overnight, yet everything starts to look different. Details that once drifted past unnoticed begin to stand still for a moment, almost as if they are waiting to be understood. And that is where this story continues. Not in a place of urgency, but in a place of awareness. Because there is still something hidden beneath the surface that has not yet been revealed. Stay with me. Don't skip ahead. The next realization is quietly approaching, and it may be more meaningful than you expect. Picture a calm evening when everything seems normal. The kind of evening where nothing appears unusual. The kind of evening where life moves at its familiar pace. Yet beneath that calm surface, invisible connections are already forming. Pieces are moving. Information is traveling. Choices are being made. Most people never notice these moments because they expect important events to arrive with noise and commotion. But some of life's most significant turning points arrive softly. They arrive like a whisper rather than a shout. And because they arrive so quietly, they are often missed. Now consider this carefully. The value of a name is not proven when everything is going well. Its value is revealed when attention is required. When questions arise. When understanding becomes necessary. That is why awareness is such a powerful companion. Awareness does not create problems. Awareness creates clarity. And clarity allows people to see what has been there all along. Something important is waiting for you in this part of the journey. The story is beginning to reveal a deeper truth. Imagine discovering that the most reliable protection is not built from worry. It is built from knowledge. The moment you understand something clearly, it loses its power to confuse you. The moment you bring light into uncertainty, uncertainty begins to fade. This is why so many people feel a quiet sense of relief when they finally understand what is happening around them. Not because every answer arrives at once, but because they realize they are no longer walking blindly. And here is where the story becomes even more interesting. There are people who spend years searching for confidence in places where it cannot be found. They search in opinions. They search in approval. They search in circumstances. Yet true confidence often begins with a simple decision, paying attention. Nothing more. Nothing less. The person who pays attention notices opportunities. The person who pays attention notices patterns. The person who pays attention discovers truths that others walk past every day. Pause for a moment and reflect on your own journey. Think about how many times life placed a small sign in front of you before revealing a larger lesson. Think about how many answers were already nearby, waiting patiently to be recognized. The same principle is unfolding here. This story is not rushing toward its destination because some lessons are too valuable to hurry. They must be experienced step by step, realization by realization. What makes this moment remarkable is that the hidden lesson is no longer hiding as well as it once was. Its outline is becoming visible. Its shape is beginning to emerge. And that shape reveals something unexpected. The real power has never belonged to the people who create confusion. The real power belongs to those who seek understanding. The real power belongs to those who choose awareness over assumption. Stay a little longer. There is still one piece missing. A piece that changes the meaning of everything you have heard so far. Because soon, the focus will shift away from what happened and toward why it matters. And when that shift occurs, you may discover that this entire journey has been leading toward a realization far greater than anyone expected. A realization connected not only to a name, but to trust, identity, and a hidden strength that has been growing inside you all along. The next chapter begins with an unexpected discovery, one that appears small at first, yet quietly unlocks a door that has remained closed until now. And once that door opens, the story will never look the same again. There is a moment in every meaningful journey when the listener realizes they have been looking at the surface while something far more important has been unfolding underneath. That moment is arriving now. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. But steadily, like the first light appearing before sunrise. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects more than your appearance. A mirror that reflects your choices, your growth, your resilience, and every lesson you have gathered along the way. Most people spend their lives looking outward, trying to understand what is happening around them. Yet the most powerful discoveries often happen when they begin looking inward. That is where this story is quietly leading. Stay with this thought for a moment. Because what happens next is not about information. It is about recognition. It is about realizing that your identity is not something fragile that can be defined by circumstances. It is something stronger. Something deeper. Something that has been growing every day, even when you were unaware of it. The fascinating thing about life is that important truths rarely arrive fully formed. They reveal themselves in layers. One piece appears. Then another. Then another. Until suddenly, the entire picture becomes clear. And right now, another layer is being revealed. Somewhere along your path, there were moments when you doubted your own progress. Moments when you wondered whether your quiet efforts mattered. Moments when it seemed as though nobody noticed the work you were doing within yourself. Yet every act of patience, every lesson learned, every challenge overcome became part of the foundation you stand on today. You may not have realized it at the time, but those moments were preparing you for greater awareness. Don't skip this part. Something important is waiting for you. There is a reason wise people value clarity so highly. Clarity removes distractions. It separates what truly matters from what only appears important. And when clarity enters a situation, a remarkable transformation begins. Questions that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Uncertainty starts losing its grip. Confidence begins to grow, not the loud kind of confidence that seeks attention, but the quiet kind that comes from understanding. Now the story takes another unexpected turn. What if the real discovery was never about what someone else was doing? What if the real discovery was about what you were learning? Think carefully about that. Because while attention may have been drawn toward a name, the deeper lesson has always been pointing toward awareness. Toward recognizing your own value. Toward understanding that you possess something nobody else can replicate. Your perspective. Your experiences. Your character. Your journey. And that realization changes everything. When people understand their own worth, they stop giving unnecessary power to confusion. They stop assuming that uncertainty controls the future. Instead, they begin making thoughtful decisions. They begin noticing opportunities hidden inside ordinary moments. They begin trusting themselves in ways they never did before. The most beautiful part of this story is that the answer has been approaching quietly from the beginning. It has never rushed. It has never demanded attention. It has simply waited for the right moment to be seen. And now that moment is getting closer. Some listeners are already beginning to feel it. A subtle shift. A growing understanding. A sense that this journey is leading somewhere meaningful. Because it is. There is still one hidden piece remaining. One detail that connects every lesson, every realization, and every question that has appeared so far. A detail so simple that many people overlook it, yet so powerful that once understood, it changes how they see themselves forever. Stay till the end of this unfolding story. The next part begins with a discovery that seems insignificant at first, a single overlooked clue, resting quietly in plain sight. Yet that small clue carries an answer nobody expected. And when its meaning is finally revealed, you may realize that the greatest protection in life has never been found in what belongs to you, but in fully understanding who you are. The clue did not arrive wrapped in importance. It did not announce itself. It did not demand attention. In fact, it appeared so ordinary that most people would have walked right past it without a second thought. Yet that is often how life works. The answers that shape us rarely arrive as grand spectacles. They arrive quietly, waiting for someone patient enough to notice them. And now, something is beginning to come into focus. Imagine opening a door you have passed 1,000 times before. The door never changed. The hallway never changed. Yet suddenly, you see it differently. Not because the world became new, but because your understanding became deeper. This is the shift taking place right now. For so long, the story seemed to revolve around a name. A record. A possibility. But look closely. The center of the story has been moving all along. Slowly. Carefully. Almost invisibly. It has been moving toward something far more personal. Toward you. Not the name people know. Not the image others see. Not the assumptions that come and go. You. The person behind every decision. The person behind every lesson. The person who kept moving forward even when progress felt invisible. Stay a little longer, because this realization changes the entire atmosphere of the journey. There comes a point when awareness stops being information and becomes wisdom. Information tells you what exists. Wisdom teaches you what matters. And what matters is often much closer than people realize. Think about how many times life has prepared you before revealing why the preparation was necessary. At the time, the lessons seemed unrelated. The delays felt frustrating. The quiet seasons felt unremarkable. Yet later, everything connected. Every experience became part of a larger picture. The same pattern is unfolding here. What appeared to be a simple concern has slowly transformed into an invitation to understand your own value more clearly. And once that understanding begins to settle into your heart, something remarkable happens. You stop underestimating yourself. You stop overlooking your growth. You stop forgetting how far you have already come. That is the hidden gift inside this story. Don't skip this moment. Many people spend years waiting for an external sign to remind them of their worth. They wait for recognition. They wait for approval. They wait for confirmation from somewhere outside themselves. Yet sometimes the most important confirmation arrives from within. It arrives when you finally recognize the strength that has been quietly supporting you all along. And here is where the story becomes even more interesting. The overlooked clue was never important because of what it revealed about someone else. It was important because of what it revealed about you. It revealed that you are more observant than you once believed. More resilient than you once realized. More capable of navigating uncertainty than you once imagined. The lesson was never hiding in the shadows. It was growing in plain sight. Now another layer begins to emerge. Some listeners may already feel it, a quiet sense that something meaningful is approaching. A realization that the journey is no longer about uncovering a mystery. It is about discovering a truth. A truth that has been waiting patiently from the very beginning. A truth that cannot be borrowed, copied, transferred, or imitated. Because it belongs uniquely to you. And just when it seems that every piece has nearly fallen into place, another unexpected detail appears on the horizon. Small. Quiet. Easy to overlook. Yet this detail carries the final thread connecting everything together. The next part begins at the exact moment that thread is pulled. And when it is, the entire story may reveal a meaning far deeper than anyone expected when they first heard the words. A person is using your name. Just when it seemed the picture was complete, the final thread began to move. Not with urgency. Not with noise. But with the kind of quiet certainty that makes a person stop and listen more carefully. Because sometimes the most important moment in a journey is not the beginning. It is not even the discovery. It is the moment when all the scattered pieces suddenly recognize each other and begin fitting together in a way that feels undeniable. And that moment is drawing closer now. Imagine holding a puzzle piece in your hand for years without knowing where it belongs. You carry it through different seasons. Different experiences. Different chapters of life. Then one day, almost unexpectedly, you find the place where it fits. Everything changes. Not because the piece became different. Because your understanding became complete. Stay till the end. Something important is waiting for you. The truth hidden within this story has never been about a stranger, a document, or an unseen action happening somewhere beyond your view. Those were only the outer layers. They were the doorway, not the destination. The destination has always been much closer. There is a remarkable difference between knowing your name and knowing your identity. A name can be written. A name can be spoken. A name can appear in places you never expected. But identity is something deeper. Identity is built through choices. Through values. Through lessons learned when nobody was watching. Through the quiet decisions that slowly shape a person's character. And the more this story unfolds, the clearer that distinction becomes. Because what makes you valuable is not something external. It is something carried within you every single day. Think about that for a moment. Every challenge you overcame. Every setback that taught you patience. Every unexpected turn that revealed strength you didn't know you possessed. Those experiences became part of your story. Part of your identity. Part of the person you are still becoming. And nobody else can claim that journey. Nobody else can duplicate those lessons. Nobody else can carry the exact perspective that belongs to you. That realization is the thread. The thread that connects every question asked so far. The thread that transforms uncertainty into understanding. The thread that reveals why this journey feels so personal. Don't skip this part. Because another realization is beginning to rise beneath the surface. Many people spend years protecting what they own. Very few spend the same energy protecting how they see themselves. Yet the way you see yourself shapes every decision that follows. When you recognize your own worth, you move differently. You notice opportunities differently. You respond to challenges differently. You carry yourself differently. Not with pride. Not with arrogance. But with quiet confidence. And quiet confidence has a way of changing everything around it. Now the atmosphere of the story begins to shift again. The hidden truth is no longer hiding. Its outline is becoming clear. The lesson was never about losing control. The lesson was about discovering awareness. The lesson was about recognizing value. The lesson was about understanding that your identity is one of the most meaningful things you possess. And when that understanding becomes real, something extraordinary happens. You stop defining yourself by circumstances. You begin defining yourself by purpose. By growth. By character. By the person you choose to become. Yet even now, one final realization remains untouched. A realization so simple that it can easily be missed. And yet it carries the deepest meaning of all. The next part begins with a question that changes the direction of everything you thought this story was about. A question that seems ordinary at first. But once answered, it reveals why this entire journey may have been guiding you towards something far greater than protecting a name. It may have been guiding you toward fully understanding your own value for the very first time. The question arrived so softly that many people would have missed it. It did not appear as a challenge. It did not demand an answer. It simply lingered in the quiet space between one thought and the next. And the question was this. If everything connected to your name disappeared tomorrow, what would still remain? Pause there for a moment. Because the answer reveals more than most people expect. The first response that comes to mind is often the surface answer. The obvious answer. But stay a little longer. Look deeper. Beneath every title, every label, every introduction, there is something far more enduring. There is your character. There is your perspective. There is your ability to keep growing when circumstances change. There is your capacity to learn, adapt, and move forward. Those things cannot be measured on paper. They cannot be borrowed. They cannot be duplicated. And they cannot be separated from who you truly are. That is why this story has been unfolding the way it has. Not to lead you toward worry. Not to pull you into uncertainty. But to bring you toward a realization that becomes more powerful with every passing moment. Your value has never depended on what appears beside your name. Your value has always existed beneath it. Don't skip this realization. Many people spend their entire lives searching for proof of their worth in places that were never designed to provide it. They look for it in recognition. They look for it in achievements. They look for it in what others think. Yet true confidence often begins when a person understands that worth is not something granted by the outside world. It is something recognized within. And once recognized, it becomes difficult to forget. Now imagine looking back at the beginning of this journey. Think about how different everything feels now. At first, the focus seemed fixed on a single concern. A single possibility. A single unanswered question. But step by step, layer by layer, the story revealed something much larger. It revealed that awareness creates clarity. That clarity creates confidence. And confidence creates a stronger relationship with your own identity. That is the path that has been unfolding all along. Something important is waiting for you in these final moments. Because there is one last piece that has not yet fully emerged. A piece hidden not in information, but in understanding. The people who move through life with the greatest sense of peace are not necessarily the people who know every answer. They are often the people who know themselves. They understand their values. They understand their direction. They understand what truly matters. And because of that understanding, they are not easily shaken by uncertainty. The deeper lesson of this story was never about a name appearing in an unexpected place. The deeper lesson was about remembering that your identity is larger than any circumstance. Larger than any assumption. Larger than any temporary situation. Your identity is the collection of everything you have learned, overcome, and become. And that is something remarkably powerful. Now a new feeling begins to emerge. Not curiosity. Not concern. Something calmer. Something steadier. A sense of perspective. A sense that the journey has been leading somewhere meaningful from the very beginning. Yet before the final realization arrives, one last door remains unopened. Behind that door is the answer to a question nobody thought to ask at the start. A question that transforms this story from a lesson about awareness into a lesson about purpose. And when that door finally opens, you may discover that the greatest protection you will ever have is not found in watching the world around you, but in understanding the person you are becoming. The final door did not swing open all at once. It opened slowly. Quietly. Almost respectfully. As though it understood that some truths are too meaningful to be rushed. And as that door opened, a different question stepped forward. Not, who is using the name? Not, where did it happen? Not even, what comes next? The question waiting on the other side was far more personal. Who are you becoming through all of this? That question changes everything. Because when life places a moment of awareness in front of you, it is rarely about the moment alone. It is about the person that moment is shaping. Every experience leaves something behind. A lesson. A realization. A new perspective. And the experiences that stay with us the longest are often the ones that quietly change how we see ourselves. Stay till the end. The most important realization of this entire journey is only now beginning to reveal itself. Think back to the person you were before this story began. Before the questions. Before the reflections. Before the deeper understanding started taking shape. You may not feel completely different. Yet something has shifted. You have been reminded to pay attention. You have been reminded that awareness is valuable. You have been reminded that identity is more than information. And those reminders matter. Because every strong foundation begins with understanding. The fascinating thing about purpose is that it often hides inside ordinary moments. People expect purpose to arrive with grand announcements. They expect it to appear during extraordinary events. Yet purpose frequently whispers before it speaks. It shows itself through lessons. Through growth. Through small realizations that slowly transform the way a person moves through the world. And perhaps that is why you found yourself here. Not merely to hear a story, but to recognize something within your own journey. Something that has been present longer than you realized. A quiet strength. A quiet wisdom. A quiet ability to keep moving forward, even when the path ahead is not completely visible. Don't skip this moment. Because many listeners spend years waiting for confidence to arrive before they take their next step. But confidence rarely arrives first. Awareness arrives first. Understanding arrives first. And confidence grows from those roots. That is the hidden pattern. That is the lesson concealed beneath every layer of this story. The more clearly you understand yourself, the less power uncertainty has over you. The more clearly you understand your values, the easier it becomes to recognize what deserves your attention. The more clearly you understand your purpose, the more peaceful your path becomes. And now the journey is approaching its most meaningful point. Not an ending. A beginning. Because the greatest discovery was never hidden somewhere outside of you. It was growing within you the entire time. The awareness you gained. The perspective you developed. The understanding you uncovered. Those are gifts that remain long after the questions fade. Something important is waiting for you just beyond this moment. One final realization. One final piece of understanding. A realization that brings every lesson together and reveals why this story started with a name but ends with something infinitely more valuable. It ends with the recognition that your future is not defined by what appears beside your name. It is defined by the character, wisdom, and purpose you choose to carry forward. And in the next part, that truth will finally reveal its deepest meaning.